guys, it's Patrick. So you got to see a little bit how all these field strip, generally they all break down into 4 parts, right? So you got the barrel, the spring, the upper or the slide, and then the frame or the receiver, depending on how you've been told terminally. So it doesn't really matter what you call them. They're all very similar. Each one of the guns, if you notice, look very much the same. It's because they're all modern striker fire pistols. This is what you want to carry most likely if you're carrying for self-defense. I'm not saying that revolvers and other things are not great, but this is kind of what most people are using. Okay. After a class, they can be very dirty. Also, after being carried for a long time, if you'll take a look at that, you can kind of see that it's pretty dirty in there just from me carrying it. This is my personal gun, probably one of the most carried guns in my whole fleet of guns, and it's just, you would not believe how much this lint gets down in the gun just from you carrying it all the time. Now, I do carry it 24/7, like it hardly ever comes off, so it gets a lot of time and action. So here's what we're going to do to break this gun down and clean it. The first thing I suggest is taking a dry brush. That's right, I said completely dry, no oil, nothing in the gun. And I like to give it a quick brush. So we're just going to take that and brush all this lint and all this gunk and stuff that's kind of been in there. Go down through the mag well and just brush that stuff off real quick. This will save you from having to clean when you put all your solvents and stuff in there. It saves you from having all this stuff that would have just fell out really easy off. So if you'll see here, you got all this kind of dust and stuff in here. And if you just take a dry brush, boom, it's gone just like that. It doesn't take long at all. And I'm just going to hit the breech face real quick right through there, just like that. And if you'll look, it actually looks pretty good right now. I could probably throw this thing back together with a little bit of dusting and it'd be ready to go again. And all I'm doing is just dry brushing, right? After class, that'll be much different, obviously. This one, most of the time we keep our guns pretty clean. Cleaning is not my favorite thing to do, let's just be honest. Like, we got very little time, and this is something we do quickly. So I'm going to show you how we do things quick and dirty, and then what you choose to do. This is how we do it. You do it however you want to, but this is how we do it. So I'm going to give it a quick brush, just like this, on all the important things. Okay, now you can see there's a whole bunch of stuff and gunk here that just kind of come out on the table. So we're just going to wipe that stuff out just to get us a kind of cleaner surface to work with here. Okay, and then now the next thing we're going to do, just because this is a work table, I like to lay this stuff out here, and I'm just going to hit it with some solvent. I'm using the breakthrough stuff on this. I'm just going to give it a little squirt down the barrel. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't hit the barrel of the gun very often. I typically do this very little, and I'm not much worried about the about the barrel itself. Most people get really caught up in that, and I think that most people clean it way too much. If it was me and I just shot a couple hundred rounds, it might get this, what I just did, a quick wipe down and some oil, and it's back together and running again. That may be as simple as your cleaning process is. I'm going to step it just a little bit farther down the rabbit hole today and show you, okay, maybe it's been a couple times we've been to class now. This gun's been through maybe 1,000 rounds at this point. I'm going to show you, and that's just since the last cleaning, it's been through 1,000 rounds. It's been through way more than that in this life, and it's doing fine. So don't worry about Glock. It does pretty good. But let's just say it's been 1,000 rounds through here. I might then choose to do a little bit of brushing. If you carry a Glock, you're smart, and it came with this stuff already in the box. You don't have to buy anything else. It comes with this nice cleaning rod that also doubles as a patch holder. And it's literally everything you need to clean your gun. Okay, Glock 19, Glock 26, Glock, it does not matter. Whichever Glock usually comes with whatever you need in the box, okay? So what I might do is, after you saw me, I sprayed some solvent down through there, and I might just take this brush, go in this direction, and give it a hit like that, maybe 2-3 times. Just enough to clean it out a little bit. And you see it had a little bit of dirt in there, but not much. It wasn't much. And that's with quite a bit of shooting out of this gun. After that, I'm going to take a patch. I'm going to run a patch through the barrel. And all I'm trying to do is just get that solvent out of there. Now you can see this thing was not that dirty. Not dirty at all, really. Most of the dirt on this gun was from carrying. It's only probably had a couple, I want to say it was a couple hundred rounds since the last cleaning. I think my 19 is the one that has more rounds on it right now from doing classes and such. That's about it for that. For the barrel, that's the extent of how much I'm going to clean the barrel, just like that. I will take the patch and just clean inside here, get all that solvent off that I just sprayed on it. Pretty simple. Then we're going to come back here and wipe this down, just like that. Okay, and if you want to, I'm going to get a new patch just because I'm on video. Probably wouldn't have done that in real life. I'd have probably just used the same patch, just being honest. But we're just going to take this and wipe all that solvent out of there, just like that. And you can see, again, not very dirty. So it's really, if you can do this after, you know, every couple times you go take a class or something, it really doesn't get that dirty. It doesn't need that much. So I'm just taking that and wiping some of that out. You can use a rag as well. Doesn't matter. I'm just going to take the rag here and wipe this slide down a little bit. And all I'm doing is wiping off that solvent that we had on there. Cleaning out the carbon and such. Now, on all these other guns, you know, we have quite a few rentals. That may be pretty much what I do cleaning wise on this. I'm going to take and wipe down this solvent on the frame here just a little bit. And out of, a lot of people neglect the magazine. And that is an important place to clean. Make sure you get in there and clean that magazine well. And it's as simple as what I just did. Take the brush, clean it dry, put some solvent in, take your finger and clean it out that way. It's that simple. So, solvent done. Now let's talk about oiling the gun. It's really not as hard as you may think. I do really like the needle point type or the battle-born type with the oil. It makes it much easier to apply the oil when you're putting it on there. The most common problem people have out of Glocks especially is over lubricating them. So when you put too much lube on these guns, it really makes them run worse, not better, and you're attracting all this dirt and stuff to everywhere you put it. And I know it's tempting for you guys to go in here and really scrub and clean and make this stuff pretty, and really I advise against all that. Like, you know, give it a good wipe down. It doesn't need anything more than that. Don't put oil or anything like that on it to make it look better or shinier or any of that stuff. You want it to be not slick when you pick it up. You want to have a good grip on your gun. So let's talk about how you're going to lubricate the gun. We're going to, I forgot the spring here. We're just going to wipe the spring off. I sprayed it just a second ago. And again, it's that simple. I just take it, wipe it down, done. It's pretty simple. If you're spending more than a few minutes cleaning your gun, you're probably doing it wrong, just to let you know. So let's talk about how we actually lubricate the gun itself now. This is the way I do it. Again, you do whatever you want. But what I'm going to do is take about half a drop here and put one there, just like that. One there, one here, one here. Then we're going to come back right here where this little lever is and put a little drop right there. So it's about 5 drops on that frame. Pretty simple. Anywhere that's metal and a rail you want to hit. Then we're going to come in here on the barrel, and you can see where there's a little wear on the bottom of the barrel. We're just going to put a drop there and just rub that in, just like that on the barrel. Okay, simple. Turn the gun over, or turn the barrel over. We're going to now, this is probably the most abused part of the gun, is where it locks up into the frame. So we're going to make sure that we get some oil in here, just like that. And it's not much, it's about a drop. What I'm using is that little needle point we're talking about there to kind of get in there and rub that where I want it. And that's the extent of that. So on the slide here, we're just going to come in right on the top there and put just a little drop right there where it all kind of rubs in. And I'm just going to take my finger and rub that in a little bit, just like that. That's the extent, guys. That's pretty much it. If you wanted to, you could take the 4 drops that I put here on these rails and put them in here if you're really concerned about it. When I'm cleaning, I make sure that I take very special attention with a dry brush right in there on those rails. That's where it kind of gets dirty. As you can see, there's still a little dirt there. So we're going to hit that just a couple more times. Just like that. And then if you wanted to, you can come back in here, and if you didn't put the oil here, you just come in and put it here, just like that. You just either way, you want that rail lubricated, because that's where all the work happens, okay? After you've done that, it's pretty simple. We put the barrel back in. We're going to put the recoil spring back in. On a Glock, you heard Matt talk just a second ago about how important it is to make sure you get it on the little shelf that's correct. If you'll look at this one, it actually has two shelves on the barrel there. There's a top and then a bottom. You want to make sure you get into that round cutout right there. If you come up to the high part, it'll look like it's in, and it's actually really easy to do that. But if you'll look, the angle's a little bit off. It's a little bit wrong there. And when you go to put it back on the frame, it'll actually jam that spring up and give you all sorts of problems. It's not fun at all. So what you want to do is just push that in a little bit more and make sure it goes all the way down on that second shelf, just like that. So when you do that, that's what it looks like. The angle is better. And then we're going to take that, put it back on here, cycle it back. That's pretty much what it looks like when it's done. Now, after we're done, we're going to do a function test on it. We're going to still open the gun up, make sure it's not magically had a bullet fall in it, for you safety Nazis. And then we're going to hold it, pull back. You're going to keep that back and keep the trigger pin back so you can rack the slide. And you should hear a click. That's trigger reset. We know the trigger's working effectively now, and it's good to go. So now the pistol is ready to function just like it is. The one thing I didn't talk about, be careful with your aftermarket sights. Make sure you're not putting anything crazy on there that's going to mess them up. Battle-born stuff is all good to go. You're probably okay with hops number 9, stuff like that. Anything that you've been using that's made for this kind of stuff is probably okay, but if you're using some of those really bad cleaners, you can really mess up your sights and stuff. So for me, all I really do on the outside, I usually just hit it with a dry brush. It doesn't need much more than that for me, unless it's extremely dirty. After a really bad clash, you might have to dive deep in. If you've been messing in the mud and really running your gun hard, you might have to dive in a little bit more. But that's all mine gets, guys, on the normal occasion. When I've been carrying it and working with it, it's normally not getting that dirty. Now, like I said, after a really hard class, you might find that it got really, really dirty. But most of the time, that's all the gun needs. Now, we're going to transition for just a second. A lot of times people forget one of the most important parts, which is cleaning the magazines. Most failures in a gun actually happen from the magazines. They get dirty. They're disposable. They're not permanent fixtures. These things can wear out. They can really not work well over time. So it's important to clean these magazines out. Now, I'm going to give you a demonstration of these first and show you. These are pretty simple. Any of the metal magazines, when you go to use them, they usually just have like a little dimple in the bottom that holds the base plate on. So all you have to do is figure out which way they go, which is usually the open side. If you look, this is kind of closed and this side's open. That's how you know which direction it goes. You're just going to push that little dimple in and give it a push. Now on the metal mags, it's super simple. They come off real easy. Just put your finger over there and catch the spring, because it is spring loaded, and then it'll want to come out. Ooh, gotta be careful, it's spring loaded here. There we go. And it's just a spring, a follower, pretty simple stuff. Nothing crazy here. To put it back on, again, quite simple. Just hold it down with your finger, just like that. Oh, maybe not. I'll get you to grab that for me, guys. Always happens when you're on camera, right? So we're going to put that back down in there. Come back in here, make sure it catches the lip like so, and just like that. So pretty simple stuff on the metal magazines. The shield one would be exactly the same. It also has that little divot. It's more of a square divot here, if you can see that. Hopefully you can see that right there. And it's the same thing. You just pull it out. Now, with Glock mags, it's a little bit more of a pain in the butt. The Glock mags can be a little bit more pain. It's the same general principle, right? You could use a screwdriver and push that little dimple in and pry this thing out, but it has a different method of holding it in there, and it makes Glock mags kind of a pain in the butt to come off. So I recommend that you pick up the Glock tool. It doesn't matter which brand. I don't really care. It's just a piece of metal anyway, so it's a tool. I think this one was $9 or $10 online. Something pretty simple you can pick up. Maybe I'll throw an Amazon link in the bottom so you can see what that looks like. But basically, you put that little round piece in the hole there, and you use leverage to pop that thing back. And as you can see, it's quite difficult to open that thing up right there. Once it breaks, it's fairly simple from there. But the way this works on these Glocks is they have like these little indentations there, if you can see. And that locks in there. It makes it much more difficult to open a Glock mag up to clean it. But with this little tool, it's super simple. You can do it without it, but I don't recommend it. So once we get that apart, again, it's the same thing. You can see it's very dusty and dirty in there. And that can cause you some problems whenever you are carrying this thing. So I recommend, again, a dry brush. No oil if you can help it. And we're just going to come in here and clean that out just like that. Now, if you do happen to see that there's oil that's been dripping in there from your gun, if you over lubricate your gun, it can get down in the magazine. That can cause problems. You do not want oil of any type inside the magazine. So this one looks really clean. I don't see any problems in there, so I'm going to dry brush it just like that. Okay, and I'm going to come back here, get the base plate, dry brush it just a little bit, get the junk out of it, and then same thing for the mag here, or for the spring, I'm sorry. And we're just going to catch all these little pieces. Okay, pretty simple stuff. When you go to put it back in, all you have to do to figure out which way it goes is look and see which way the bullet's supposed to be. So you can put that back in, no problem. When you go to put the base plate on, it only goes one way. And you want this metal, or this little tab part here, that's the part that you're pushing out of the magazine when you go to put it back in there. And if you look, it's only cut to go one way. You can't really mess this up. It has to go one direction. Now you could potentially put it in this way, upside down, which would cause your base plate not to lock on very good. But I mean, if you have any sense at all, you can kind of see where that's supposed to go. So you put that like that. Put this on top. Now the hard part is once you put that in, you have to hold that with your thumb as you put it back on. So we're just going to hold that down just like that, push it over until it catches it, and there you go, just like that. So you can test the function of your magazine by just pushing down on there. As long as it's moving good, that's all that matters. That's pretty much the basics here of how to clean. Now listen, if it was more dirty than that, you would need to put some solvent in here and get all the oil and stuff out. If they get really dirty in class, especially when you're running in class and you drop these in the mud and stuff, they can get all kinds of crud and dirt in there. So you really got to pay attention to your magazines. And this is one that I don't have labeled and stuff, but typically I have all my the reason why this one's not labeled like my normal trainer mag is because this is the one I carry in the gun. So this one doesn't really get rotation in class. This one's the one that I keep separate. I know that it functions well, and it's basically a brand new mag that I have not used very much in this gun. I recommend that you pull some mags out that are for training only, that you can really abuse them and not worry about it, and then pick up some extra ones down the road to replace the ones that you're beating up, right? And then put them in a safe place or in your carry rotation as you kind of wear these out, because these are wearable items. They do go bad, guys, and I don't recommend that you rebuild or do anything. They're $20. Toss them in the trash and get you another one. These things are expendable. That being said, so it can be more detailed. You can go as far as breaking this down and really cleaning this out, taking the whole slide apart, taking the pin apart. That's more than most people are willing to get into, especially if you're a new gun owner. This is more than you're willing to take on most times by yourself anyway. So I want you to be confident that you can take this apart. It's pretty simple stuff. And if you can only do the basics of that, with you got any modern striker fire pistol, it's going to run you and service you, and do service just fine and not give you any problems. Don't worry. A basic field cleaning is good enough for most people, especially you that shoot 200 or 300 rounds a year. It's not enough to really bother your guns. Okay. Now, if you're a high rep, high range Person that's spending 10,000 rounds a year or something, that's a whole different ball game. But most people, especially you new gun owners, this is going to serve you and be as far down as you need to dive. And if you want to get a deeper clean on it once or twice a year, take it to a gunsmith, let them tear it apart for you, or someone who knows what they're doing. It's not that hard, and you can do it yourself, but I would advise that's a whole different level and a different video. So we appreciate you training with us at Prepare Patriot. I hope you like and subscribe. Check out social media, preparepatriotnc.com and Prepare Patriot NC across the board on all that. And if you want to train with us, hit up preparepatriotnc.com. Go hit the schedule. You can pull down and see whatever class you might see where you get to use these pistols and actually use them, not just play with them on a range. This is real training. So hope you enjoyed it. We'll catch you next video. Until next time, carry smart, carry safe, be prepared.